Challenger from the NR Hour Sports Podcast Show, alongside with my co-host Arielle Schafer. This is episode 642. We're joined by special guest Savannah Foster. She's well respected in the agency business and especially in the NFL. She's one of the best talented NFL agents out there right now. It's truly an honor for you to be joining us today on this podcast. First of all, how are you and your family doing so far during this tough situation?
We've been doing great. I had a baby at the very beginning of quarantine back in March. So selfishly, it worked out timing wise for me because, when the world shut down, I had to be home with her anyway. So it was a really special time for us at home as a family. But my heart goes out to everybody who's enduring so many hardships for sure. But our business here at Athletes First is really thriving. So I'm thankful all around.
Congrats on the baby, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, she'll be 9 months old on Christmas Day. It's so hard to believe. Her whole life has been lived in this little quarantine bubble.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, congrats. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no. I was going to say, I'm going to let you start it off too first. So.
Okay. Well, first of all, congratulations on your new little one. That's so exciting. And our family friends, they had a baby at the beginning of the pandemic too. And he's all grown up and walking and all this stuff. So it's crazy how much time flies when you're in a bubble. But I want to, focus on you. So tell me about your journey. How did you get to the position where you are today?
Yeah, so I started off, I was in college at the University of Louisville and realized I wanted to work in sports. And my advisor at the time told me if I wanted to be an agent, I needed to move to California or California or New York. So I moved to California and never looked back. So I started law school at Cal Western in San Diego. Hated it. It was horrible. So I tried everything I could find to get out of there. And I was fortunate enough to find a really great little position, a seasonal position with the Padres. And I had an internship at the Upper Deck Company. So always trying to network and put feelers out there along the way. And then just as luck would have it, after the summer after my first year of law school, I ran into some of the agents who are currently still here at Athletes First today. And they told me about an available position as a receptionist. And the rest is history. So I've been with Athletes First for over 12 years now, which is wild. Started off as a receptionist, and now I'm a certified agent and run our client relations department.
Wow, that's amazing. By the way, I got to say this. You're my second NFL agent I had on the show. The first one was Sam Tiger, if you know him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who did you look up to while growing up in the agency business and throughout your career? Who helped you along the way to get to where you're at right now?
Yeah, when I was in college, I had no idea what I was doing and didn't really even know if it was an achievable goal. I guess I doubted myself a lot along the way. But, as I mentioned, I've been fortunate enough to start off at Athletes First as a receptionist. So every single day I'm getting to rub elbows and watch all of these very successful agents all day, every day. So I've been able to learn so much through my firsthand information here, just, hearing all the conversations down the hall, sitting in on meetings and hearing all these great conversations with super successful agents. Dave Dunn, who is one of the founders of our agency, has been in the industry for over 30 years. He does Aaron Rodgers contract deals and has done many, many record-setting deals throughout his career and, sets the bar super high. And then Brian Murphy and David Mulugeta and Joe Panos. And I could go on because, I'm just fortunate to be in great company here and learning all day, every day from super successful people.
Wow, that's amazing. And I kind of want you to walk us through a day-to-day type of routine that you have at Athletes First. I guess maybe the pandemic has shaped that a little bit. So kind of walk us through your day-to-day life.
Yeah. So, as you mentioned, everything we ever knew has been just completely thrown up in the air for this year. But typically what we do is very cyclical, right? So, in the spring, obviously we have Pro Bowl, Super Bowl, Senior Bowl, Combine, and the NFL Draft all back to back to back. So the spring is crazy. And we also have Athletes First Classic event where every year we bring all of our players out to Monarch Beach Resort in Dana Point, and we raise millions of dollars for Orangewood Children's Foundation. So that's all in the spring. It's crazy. It's wild. We love it. And then the summer is kind of a rebuilding time. So, a lot of the players are starting their mini camps and getting prepared for camp and then getting back to work. So they're doing some of their travels and vacations and all of that. So we help out with that, of course, and whatever they may need along the way. But it's also a time for us to kind of sit back, recalibrate, and think about what we're going to be doing for that next season. So, of course, recruiting is always going on in the background. We actually are signing players as we speak who are finishing their college seasons and signing with agencies. So right now, it's kind of all hands on deck around here because we have a handful of our rookie players who are already out here in California training for the combine. So we handle everything for them from, their stay, their nutrition, their rehab, their therapy, all their position work, all their board work with coaches, literally everything that they need to prepare themselves for the combine. We're doing all of that as we speak currently. So a lot of busy times, but I would say right now is probably one of our busier times too, because along with the rookies, we also have, of course, our players who are playing in the NFL. Yeah. And a lot of those guys, if they've been eliminated from playoffs already, are starting to kind of think about their next moves for them as a person. So, whether they'll be going to be potentially on a different team, the next season, thinking about move things potentially, also thinking about, vacations or what they want to do with their family as they kind of take a little bit of a break from football before they ramp back up into their workouts again, all of that. And then, of course, the players who are playing right now on teams that are going to go to the next level, they're, of course, preparing themselves for playoffs and then hopefully a Super Bowl victory. So lots of moving parts. And we currently have, I think, 220 players on roster across the league. So lots of moving parts, but it's really exciting. So in a nutshell, the day-to-day is always a little bit different, but right now we're really focused on these rookie players and then getting all the active players prepared for what they're doing postseason.
Yeah.
Interesting. So take me back to your school when you were in school, because I want to learn more about how the process is like getting into the agency business, and how tough is it, and how long does it take for if you want to be an NFL agent or any kind of agent in any sport? So take me back to the process when you're in school.
Sure. So to be a certified NFL agent, you have to have a graduate degree. So I actually went on to USC and got my master's in communication management after I moved to California, which enabled me to be able to sit for the NFL agent exam. So I have my graduate degree, and then you have to go to Washington, D.C. and sit for a 2-day seminar. And then at the end of the seminar, they give the new agent exam. And then once you pass that, you have to pay your licensing fee. And then every 2 years, you have to re-up your license and take an online little course, like a brush-up course. And then you have to negotiate a contract every 3 years to keep your license up to date. So it is a lot of work. It's very intensive, but I think, people outside the sports agency probably don't even realize what it entails, because for me as a student at the University of Louisville in undergrad, I thought you had to have a law degree to be an agent, and you don't. It can be any graduate degree, or now I think that there's also kind of a loophole through that where you can have 7 years of relevant sports negotiation experience. So if someone was really involved in the marketing world, for example, and doing sports deals on that side, they could actually sit for the agent exam as well if they don't have a graduate degree. So a couple different ways you can go about it. But for me, I don't know any person in the entire industry who got their master's in communication management, can really be what you want it to be. But I'm thankful I chose that particular path because I was already working full time at the agency, very much learning all about it and all sides of the industry before I went to grad school to make sure that that's the path that I wanted to take. So, I think me quitting law school after my first year was a very difficult choice, especially because I felt like I'd worked so hard to get to that point, but I wouldn't be here today if I hadn't made that decision at that time. So it's very individual for everybody.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of behind the scenes work that people don't really know. In the news, we only hear about how much these players sign for. And I want you to kind of dig deep, and dive in on how important is it for you guys, because you guys are protecting those athletes in a way. So kind of walk me through how important is it in the agency, for each player to have a agent, because, you're negotiating for them and you're doing what's best for them.
Absolutely. And, we always stand up for whatever we believe that's best in the player's best interest. And, there are a lot of things that the players don't realize that they're eligible for. So certain benefits, certain bonuses, certain incentives in their contract. We're always looking for ways to kind of bolster that. But you're exactly right. Having an agent advocate to fight for the players is vital, in my opinion. And, sometimes if a player gets injured, they don't know exactly what to do. They just do whatever the team tells them to do. But as agents, it's our job to make sure that they get the best information for themselves. So, a lot of times we'll help them find a second opinion, kind of compare medical notes and kind of advise them on that front, because we care what is important to the players, and want them to be able to be their best selves, not necessarily what's best for the respective NFL team. So having somebody to fight for these guys day in and day out is so important, and I think they see the value in that too, because a lot of times we're able to point things out to them in their contract that they weren't even aware of. So I think it's really important, and that communication back and forth between agent and client is vital.
Mm-hmm. So when it comes to the recruiting process, you got to check. Do you guys do background checks? Go deep into the background checks before signing the client, or how does your recruiting process work?
Yeah, so we actually have, several different agents in-house here at Athletes First. So what we do at the very beginning of each recruiting season is take a look at the entire list of everyone that we as an agency want to recruit, and then kind of loosely assign who's responsible for which recruit, depending on where it makes the most sense, whether it's relationships or, maybe somebody had met an advisor or mentor or whatever that is along the way. So we want it to be organic and natural, the best we can. But yeah, of course, we want very good football players, absolutely. But we also really want to represent good people. So, it's doing a lot of that background research, like you mentioned, and it's really not even that difficult to find out a lot of times, just doing a little bit of research, finding out about their players and their families and what makes them tick, kind of what helped them get to wherever they're at in their respective careers. And that's honestly my favorite part of the job, learning about these guys from a very young age, right from college, seeing them grow in all areas of their lives to, eventually becoming family men with their own foundations and their own organizations and bigger ways to make an impact in their communities. That's what's most important for me. So yeah, we do tons and tons of research, but it's really just the conversations and getting to know the players and their families whenever the time is appropriate that helps us out the most.
I love how you said organic and natural. I love that. It's you can definitely just see right through you. You were glowing when you said that. And that's awesome that you guys have that quality in your company. I just kind of want to get the inside scoop of how you said you have a couple college players right now, you guys are recruiting. So with the NCAA rules, I know once you have an agent, you're considered a professional, correct? So how does that work with the college students? Because I know that's very tricky with the NCAA.
Yep. So you can't officially sign with an agent until after your college season is completely ended. So what we're doing at this point is really relying on the different universities. All schools are completely different. So, as an agent, I have to be licensed with the NFLPA, and then I also have to be licensed in all of those respective states where I'm recruiting players, and also the respective schools. So there are several different layers to it to make sure that we all fall in line and do everything that we're supposed to legally to, make sure we're all up on the guidelines and everything. But it's a lot of it at this point is just talking to the universities, because they help the players manage a lot of their agent selection processes. So, going through that and making sure that we're doing everything on the up and up is so important, especially as the agency industry is becoming bigger and bigger. We want to make sure that we're adhering to everything the right way. So at this point, it's largely speaking with a lot of those universities and schools and trying to see where the players are at in their individual selection processes, because it really is different for every guy. Some players don't speak to agents, period, throughout their entire college career ever until they're ready to sign at the very end, which is great. But then some players, have their parents start kind of making preliminary phone calls through their universities along the way, to different agents that they may be interested in pursuing. So it just varies by player. But, as you mentioned, it's a great question because there are so many different obstacles that we as agents have to go through. Yeah, there are a lot of layers for sure.
So this is a two-part question. The first one is, if you don't mind, can you name some of your clients? And I think I saw a picture of you with Jalen Ramsey. I'm not too sure if is he part of your agency, and if so, what has he meant to the agency? Obviously, he's one of the best defensive backs in my opinion in the NFL right now. And so, what's it like working with him? And the other question is, so for you, what's it like being an NFL agent right now, seeing these players working with their families and seeing these players grow and succeed in their careers?
Yeah, so Jalen actually, he is a part of Athletes First family, and he is so important to me as a person. He's the most genuine, the most humble, the most authentic, genuinely one of the most generous people I've ever met in my entire life. Not even in the football space, just in life. I was talking about having my baby back in March. So we were very much isolated, and staying in our home and trying the best I can to protect my family, through all of this. But whenever it was safe circumstances to do so, Jalen and his family came down to visit and see me and my family, and all the way from LA. We're in Orange County. He didn't have to do that, but he's always going above and beyond to show me love, and I would do anything in the world for him because he's an incredible person all around. And I'm not sure if you've kept up with all the community work that he's been doing, but he made a very substantial donation to an organization back in Nashville that was important to his home, a charter school, to help them, acquire some of the resources that they need to be a bigger and better organization for their students. And then he's also doing a lot of things in the LA community too. So for me, it's very special getting to meet him, as a young player, as a rookie. And he's always been a very special person, but to kind of help exemplify that in different ways as he's grown through the NFL is really, really special for me. Very, 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 very humbling for me. And, again, like little things, like he took me out to dinner for my birthday, back in October, and he's just a really special guy. So couldn't say enough good things about him for sure. But
yeah. So wow, it's like you guys do a lot, and I know you mentioned contract and representation of these athletes. Do you also do media as well? Like, are you in charge of like press releases and what he can say to certain media outlets?
Yeah, so we are a full service agency, so we handle everything for these players, literally anything that you can imagine. So in-house, we actually have a general counsel who kind of is a consultant for different various, needs that in the legal vein that players may need along the way. So whether it's taking a look at a contract or if somebody's buying a home, a prenup, whatever that is for that individual player, we have that in-house capability. We also have an in-house marketing department who handles all of the paid opportunities for our players. So, the State Farm commercials, the Gillette, all of that falls kind of under their umbrella. And then I handle our client relations department. We're a team of 7 now, and we handle everything else that the players need. So, whether it's equipment, if they need a new pair of cleats, we work to get that, medical second opinions, as I mentioned, accommodations, hotels, travel, discount, product for posts. If you see a player put something up on his Instagram, a free mattress, whatever, we do all of that too. So it's very wide ranging, and every day is completely different, but it's a big umbrella, so you kind of alluded to it a little bit, but we literally do everything here in-house. And I do a lot of the media. So yes, the press release, it was actually for Jalen that we sent out to all of the media about his Nashville donation. I handled that and helped him push it out, but he relies really heavily on the team as well. So the Rams, a lot of the teams do a lot of that work because they see the players all day, every day. So they handle a lot of that too. So it just kind of, again, a little bit of an individual preference, in the status of the player and what that means for his individual community. But we provide a lot of support. Sometimes the players even hire outside people, publicists, to do some of that work for them. But between me and then the team and then the outside, they're very, very well surrounded in their media coverage, and it can be kind of whatever the players want it to be. So, some players really want to do above and beyond in the media, and then most players actually don't, I've found. So unless there's something special the guys are promoting, a lot of times they just don't want to do too much of it because, every day they go to practice and there's media doing their presses there. So I think they get a little bit burnt out on it throughout the season.
So I got to ask you this. So how do you balance your work with, obviously now you being a mother, and especially during this tough time with COVID? So how do you balance out being an NFL agent and at the same time you got to be watching your kid?
It's really, really challenging. Thank you for acknowledging that. But, I think we're all in this together. And I think that that's one of the comforting things that's come through all this. So I'm fortunate to have an awesome support system. At work, we're we say it all the time, but we really are a family. And I rely on this team all day, every day to help pitch in wherever we need it. When I'm in the hospital having the baby, I'm completely at ease knowing that everybody's still going to receive the very highest level of services across the board. So that's very comforting. And then, at home, my husband is my rock and my ultimate support, and pitches in and gives 120% and goes above and beyond to allow me to live out my dreams and do what I want to do for my career. So forever indebted to him, but it's just a great support system all around. I'm thankful that I've found that. I'm very comfortable and happy with how that's all shaken out. But on the day-to-day, my kids are in daycare, which is great. I think it's good for everybody that I don't have them at home with me while I'm trying to work and spread myself too thin. So I'm thankful to have that little bit of separation personally during the day for me right now.
To you, what is the most rewarding part of this job?
Seeing the players grow and learning about them on different levels. I kind of alluded to it a little bit, but meeting a player who's 21 years old, fresh out of college, trying to figure out what's important to him, and then kind of seeing him grow through all of those processes and then finding that passion, it's incredibly rewarding. So it's different for every player, so we work with Kyle Rudolph of the Vikings, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with his story, but he and his wife actually have their entire wing named after them at the Children's Hospital up in Minnesota. And it's so cool for them to find that passion and work to bring it a reality, and make it such a special experience for those children in the hospital there. And they give so much time and energy to that organization and have their own big events. And, whenever he was a rookie out here training, that was not even on his radar. So seeing that growth and development and him as a person and a professional, and getting to know him and his wife on that level of doing things too, has been incredibly rewarding. And that's, universal across the board for all of our players. So, not everybody has that lengthy of a career, but what I've seen is that everybody finds something that speaks to them. And getting to be a very small part of that is definitely the most important part of my job, I believe.
So what advice would you give these young kids or even students that are trying to be in the agency business like you? So what would you tell them to expect when they get into this type of business?
I would say you have to be ready and willing to work hard. I mean, hard, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for years to get to be where you want to be. And, I'm not one of those people, you have to walk uphill 2 miles to school every day, all day, barefoot, all of that. But you truly have to put in the work, because that's what makes the community recognize you. The sports industry is such a small place. Everybody really, truly knows everybody else. And so if you put in that time and that energy, that dedication and that work, people are going to recognize it. So, we have interns come in and just do a fantastic job. And if we don't have a place for them, if another agency reaches out and is looking for help, I'll oftentimes refer those people because they put in the work and shown that they have what it takes to make it at this level. So, just don't be afraid to work hard. It is a lot of sacrifice, for sure, especially I can speak to that very personally, because again, I was a receptionist and an assistant to our president here for 6 or 7 years at the agency before I was able to move up to a different step, because there just wasn't anything available at that time. So, and I was perfectly fine with that. And I'm glad I put in that time. And I think pretty much everybody else, if you asked around, would have similar stories about just putting in that grunt work. And, it's not lost on me. And I'm so thankful that I was able to see those foundations, from the ground up, because I learned so much along the way. And I know it sounds cliche, but I truly feel like learning everything I did as a receptionist prepared me for where I am today. And I'm more able to easily relate to these guys and their families in a different way. So, just be prepared to work hard, and also don't be afraid to ask questions. I would definitely encourage everybody to do that. And that's something I wish I'd done a little bit earlier in my career. As I mentioned, I'm here all day seeing and getting to learn from the best of the best, in the entire industry. And I wish I'd taken advantage of those resources a little bit earlier in my career, because everyone really does want to help, picking somebody's brain here and there and asking questions like, can I sit in on this call with you talking with the Dolphins about this contract? I'd love to hear how that works. I wish I had done that earlier. And so I think I would encourage everybody, younger generation, to do that.
I love that advice. Like, everything you just said is definitely like the epitome of what it means to work hard in life. And my final question for you before we do our little rapid fire section is, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I know, like, right now you love where you are, but where do you picture yourself 5 years down the road?
Oh, well, that's a great question. And I always want to grow, and I think that's one of the things that's been most important to me throughout my career. I always, even as a department, we're very forward thinking and always kind of look into what's next and how we can be better and how we can grow. So last year we actually had, as a department, our first ever pre-SB's penthouse gifting suite experience, where we made it from scratch, brought in all of the women, wives, girlfriends, moms who were important to our players, and then also females, industry contacts that we have. So it was an amazing opportunity for us to give back to all these women that are so important to us, and a day of pampering, gifting, live music, food, and drinks. So it was our first ever event that we ever hosted like that, and it was a home run. And unfortunately with COVID, we weren't able to do that this year, but I would love to expand on all the events that we're having. I think there's a lot of space for that. So I would love to continue to grow in that way. And who knows, maybe have our own, key key events in the future, that would be great. And actually, personally, I'm also going to be teaching a class in the spring at the University of San Francisco in their sports management master's program. So I'm excited to be able to do that. So something a little bit different from my day to day, but hopefully impart some of these things that I've learned along the way to this next generation of sports professionals. So yeah, hoping to grow and continue to evolve in that way. And I think, really the sky is the limit. We'll see where it goes.
I love that.
You do it all.
Yeah, I try to.
But before we get to the rapid fire segment, I just have to ask you this. This is a topic I've been talking about to all my guests and even to my co-host Arielle about women in sports. And this is really important. Everybody should be talking about this. And so for you, what's it like seeing yourself and Arielle and all these other women getting more opportunities in the sports business, like agent? For example, we got our first female baseball GM in Kim Nang. And then you also have first female vice president and even female refs now in the NFL. So what's it like seeing this changing the culture now?
Oh, it's so exciting. I think this is something that, as a young girl, I was always hoping would happen, and being able to see it happen during our lifetime, I think it's just so important. And it's so great for the growth of women in sports in general to have these opportunities available, because I think it really encourages the next generation to see, oh, I see a woman doing a role that I'm interested in, and giving them maybe a little bit more confidence in pursuing that career path. So I think it's just the tip of the iceberg. I think it'll only continue to evolve and grow from here. So it's really, really exciting. And it's about time. I think it's 2020. There's no time like the present. So I'm thankful that I'm able to be a small part of that. But to see it happening on a much bigger scale is very exciting.
I almost forgot Sarah Fuller from Vanderbilt, the kicker now.
Yeah.
That's an amazing story. And have you reached out to her about potentially coming on your team, or?
No, so I haven't yet, but we'll definitely dive into it whenever the time's appropriate.
Yeah. So I guess I'll let Arielle start off with the rapid fire segment.
So yeah, we like to do a little bit of rapid fire questions for you, just to end our show with. So for me, my first one is East Coast or West Coast?
West.
What was the hardest contract you've done so far in your career?
Well, I've actually only done one rookie contract. So that was by far the most difficult because I had no idea what I was doing. But I was thankful to have Joe Panos and Brian Murphy on the team with me, managing that call. So I was very much just a witness to seeing it done. And I've learned so much through that. So that was actually just this year. So that was the first rookie contract was definitely the most difficult for me.
Mine is Starbucks or Dunkin'?
Starbucks. For sure. Every day I have my Starbucks.
So outside of doing your work and outside of being a mom, what else do you like to do?
Oh, I love everything. We go to the beach. I love going to the beach. I love reading. I love hanging out with my friends. I like wine. I like Netflix. I like traveling.
Yeah.
You name it. I'm very versatile. I like music.
What is your current read right now?
I'm actually reading, what is it called? Oh my gosh, I'm blanking out. Wild, that Reese Witherspoon movie that was based on. Yeah, so we're about halfway through Wild. So in my department at the office, we have a little book club. And so we're constantly reading a new book. So right now it's Wild, and I'm not going to lie, it's a little deep, little dark so far. I'm not sure if you've read it, but we're only about halfway through. So yeah, that's what we're reading right now.
I'm a big reader, and that's on my to be read list. So I'm excited to,
Highly recommend. Yes, it's very good.
Favorite music?
Oh, I love ratchet rap, trap music for sure. Always have. Everybody's always surprised when they meet me and spend time with me, but the more trap, the better. So I don't even like a lot of the new stuff. I like old school, like Gucci Mane and Yo Gotti.
Tupac, Biggie, like that.
Not even that. More Gucci-esque. I like Atlanta rappers more than the West Coast rappers, or like South rappers, like Lil Wayne's the GOAT. So.
Oh, I love Lil Wayne. Oh my gosh.
Southern rap exclusively. Yeah.
I guess my last rapid fire question is Peyton Manning or Eli Manning?
I'd have to say Peyton, and just because I used to spend a ton of time in Denver whenever he had his Super Bowl there. So I spent a lot of time with that Super Bowl 50 team. Okay. That means a lot to me and, the trajectory of my career. So I'd have to say him just for that reason.
Okay.
So I saw your recent interview with our friend Courtney. So what's it like connecting with all these podcasters like me, Arielle, Courtney? What's it like seeing all us like succeed in a high level, and you can obviously utilizing these platforms and sharing your guys' stories?
It's been a lot of fun so far. It's pretty new for me. I've only been doing interviews similar to this probably the past 2 years.
Mhm.
And I'm really enjoying it because I think more than anything, it's fun just to have these conversations and get to meet people like you guys. So I never would have had an opportunity to meet you most likely otherwise. So it's kind of fun to have these conversations and get to know one another a little bit. Because as I mentioned, the sports industry especially is so
Yeah.
small. So being able to connect, it means a lot to me.
Yeah. I love that. I don't have any more rapid fire questions, but we always end our show with 2 questions.
Yeah.
My first question, and I'm gonna have him do the mama mentality question, but my question is to you: do you have anything to say to our healthcare workers and first responders? Because right now they are the true MVPs. So do you have anything you would like to say to them?
Absolutely. I just hope that they understand that their hard work does not go unrecognized. Obviously I keep my head down in the sand in my little tunnel here at the office all day, every day. But at the end of the day, whenever I sit and reflect upon the state of our world, they're always at front of mind, and I talked about sacrifices earlier, making the ultimate sacrifices in a lot of cases to protect everybody. I mean, it's really means the world to me, especially as a new mom,
Yeah.
having spend a little bit of time in the hospital having my baby. I see how hard all these hospital workers and first responders are really putting in, especially right now during dangerous times for them. And it really means a lot. And I hope that they see that everybody really does, or I personally really appreciate it, and know that they're doing God's work, in my opinion.
I mean, they deserve a pay raise for sure. They deserve everything right now. But my last thing here for you, this is a question about Kobe Bryant, and obviously you're from California, so you remember where you were at that day with your family, and obviously his daughter was involved and other people, and it was just devastating. He was one of my role models growing up, and that's why I keep asking these questions to all my guests, just to get different perspective on it. So do you remember where you're at today, and what do they mean to you?
I do. And, actually, I have a lot of personal connections to Kobe in different ways. So, one of the former employees of our agency was an assistant for Kobe at the time he passed. And so I feel very closely connected to all of that situation. And it's just so saddening to see such an iconic figure, during our time and our day taken away just way too early and way too young. And spending time with his family as he passed. I think that's just kind of a perfect indicator of who he was as a person. He passed with his loved ones. Not all of them, obviously, but it was just, it's tragic. And I think it unfortunately set the tone for what the rest of the year would hold in a lot of different ways. And it's been a dark year, and I think his legacy will live on forever. And he changed the world.
Well said. And there it is. That wraps up episode 642 with the talented, inspiring NFL agent, Savannah Foster. Thank you for joining us today. It's truly an honor. And keep doing your job. Keep working hard. Keep inspiring these people. And your clients are obviously inspiring too. So keep up the great work. And you and your family stay safe. And we'll be posting this on all social media formats so people see your story.
Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Anytime.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Have a good one.
You too.